This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, online store, or website, make it with Squarespace. Hey guys, this is Austin. Recently, I did a video on this guy, a $650 gaming laptop entirely powered by AMD Ryzen. That got me thinking, how would it stack up to an Intel and Nvidia option? That's where this comes in. This is the Acer Aspire 5. Not only does it have a Core i5 processor and MX150 graphics, but impressively, it comes in with an even cheaper $600 price tag. On paper, this guy looks very similar to the HP Envy. So we're getting a 15.6-inch display, and it's actually reasonably thin considering it is a gaming laptop. I will say at first glance, the build quality does not match up to that HP. It's all plastic, and while it doesn't look bad, it sort of lacks that premium feel of the Envy. However, what it lacks in feel, it makes up for in actual functionality. Not only are we getting a full-size Ethernet jack, but we also get USB-C, HDMI, a USB 3.0 port, as well as an SD card reader. And on the other side, we're also getting 2 more USB ports. You're getting a full-size keyboard layout in addition to the number row, and even though most of the laptop is plastic, it does have this metal shell on the inside, which does feel pretty nice as a palm rest. Inside, this guy has an 8th gen Core i5 A250U, so it's going to be one of the new quad-core chips. You're getting those NVIDIA MX150 graphics, 8 GB of dual-channel DDR4, as well as a 256 GB SSD. However, all it takes is for you to fire up the Aspire 5 before you realize that there is one major thing missing: a decent-looking screen. So on paper, it's not bad. We're getting a 15.6-inch panel with a 1080p resolution. The issue is, it is a very, very unimpressive-looking TN panel. Color is okay, but the contrast is straight up terrible, and especially with the viewing angles, the screen just doesn't look that great. I get it, Acer wanted to cut some costs to be able to get this much performance in such a cheap laptop, but the screen is a little bit tough to deal with. Thankfully though, it's not all bad. So the keyboard is classic Acer. It's not the most tactile thing in the world, but especially for gaming, you're gonna be totally fine. And thankfully, this guy also is using a Windows Precision Touchpad. I love to see these, as they pretty much always not only track more accurately, but especially have those nice multi-touch gestures. When you put the Acer side by side with the HP Envy, you're gonna see that this guy has a much nicer display. Sure, it might not be quite as bright as I would like, but compared to the TN panel over here, it is night and day. Plus, this guy is going to be a touchscreen, it's convertible, and build quality wise, not only is this guy going to be thinner, but it also just feels a lot more premium. One thing the Acer definitely has going for it is upgradability. So underneath a couple of flaps on the bottom, you'll see that not only do you have access to your memory if you want to upgrade that, but over here, if we pop up this little cover, you're going to see that we have a full 2.5-inch drive bay that's completely empty. So if you want, you can upgrade with a bigger hard drive, or you can even throw a second SSD in this guy. When it comes to performance, the Aspire is just in a different league. So sure, the Envy does have that nicer screen and better build quality, but in return, you're getting not only an SSD, but you're also getting just a potent combination with the Core i5 and dedicated graphics. The i5 8250U delivers good quad-core performance. It's right up there with a lot of higher-end gaming laptops and a fair bit above the Ryzen inside the Envy. The graphics are where things really take off. So with an NVIDIA MX150 GPU, while it might not be the most powerful graphics card in the world, you're getting enough performance to play some pretty decent 1080p games, as you guys will soon see. And when you compare it to the Ryzen chip inside the HP, the Vega graphics are just not going to be able to compete. However, the real test is, of course, what it's like to play in real-world games. First off, we have Csgo. Now, as a game that, even though it might be a couple years old, is still incredibly popular, this is one of my favorite ways to test PCs. And here, on 1080p settings at high, we're getting anywhere between 80 to 100 frames per second. Super, super playable. What's not playable is my shotgun right now. Oh, did I get it? Did I get it? Oh! The game I just got my awesome goal in is Rocket League. So, just like CSGO, it's not really a difficult thing to run, so we're getting between 40 to 50 frames per second on high settings at 1080. And again, this is another great example of it. Oh, that's not a good idea. Another good example of a game that is, it's kind of perfect for a $600 laptop. It's nice that we're getting this kind of performance out of something that is relatively affordable. Next up, for something a little bit newer, we have PUBG. Now, obviously we're just in the opening area, but on 1080 low, we're getting like 35 frames per second. Man, this game has come a long way now that they don't have 300,000 people spawning in one area. I will say one thing, even though the screen isn't that bad on this laptop, just having to angle it down a little bit to get a better camera angle means that it looks a little bit washed out right now. I really wish that they had spent just a little bit more money on a nicer panel. Man, this thing would be perfect. So yeah, 1080p low is definitely very playable here. So we are averaging around 30 to 35 frames per second. If you want to really optimize those frames, you could probably go down to 720p. But with a game like PUBG, I feel like on a $600 laptop, I'm not really complaining about low settings. To really put this to the test, we have Middle-earth: Shadow of War. Now this is not only a much nicer looking game, but also a more technically demanding one. And here at 1080p on low settings, we're getting right around 30 frames per second. So if it's gonna be me, I'm probably going to turn on the dynamic resolution to get that frame rate up just a little bit, but again, a very playable game. So as you guys can see, the gaming performance is not bad, especially given the $600 price point. Something else I really like is the standard SSD. Now sure, it's easy enough to add another SSD or another hard drive if you want some extra space, but having Windows and everything fully ready on an SSD out of the box is nice. I can't tell you how many hours of my life I've wasted waiting for slow old laptops with normal hard drives to update. This makes everything so much faster. The Aspire 5 is a seriously killer little gaming laptop. Now this is very rare for me to say, but I don't really have a lot to complain about. They made a lot of smart decisions on the components, there's a ton of performance for $600. Really the only thing I can complain about is the screen. Now no, it's not a deal breaker, but it would have been nice if they would have put just a little bit of a better display in here. However, besides that, this is a close to perfect gaming laptop considering the budget. And you know what else is close to perfect? The wonderful sponsor for today's video, Squarespace.
What's so special about Squarespace anyway?
Wow, it's funny you asked that, Ken. Squarespace is the ultimate place to build yourself any kind of website you like, including one all about budget gaming. So the best part is that even if you don't know anything about building websites, anything about code, Squarespace makes it simple. With their simple drag and drop interface, you can easily load it with tons of content, and the good thing is, with their awesome looking templates, it is super simple to make a very customized and very unique looking site all in just a few minutes. And because it's Squarespace, there's no need for you to ever deal with updating your website or dealing with outdated plugins. And the best part is, even if you do have some kind of problem, they have awesome 24/7 customer support. If you already have a domain, it's super simple to get up and running with Squarespace. And if you don't, if you sign up for a year, you're going to get a domain for free. So if you're ready to make the move to Squarespace, head over to squarespace.com/Austin and you'll get 10% off your first order of a domain or site. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely be sure to check out Squarespace. And if you want more information on the Aspire 5, the link will be in the description. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching and I will catch you on the next one.